Evening, everyone. Welcome to My Matters. Again, it's Sunday already. I don't know where the time's gone, to be honest with you. What I do, it's the same flipping day every day. It's like Groundhog Day. Welcome to everyone on the show. I could see usual suspects in there on the chat. Someone talked about McDonald's. We'll have to find out what's going on there before we sort of delve into all of that. Obviously, we've got a couple of the guests that everyone's used to seeing by now. We'll start from the main man himself. Well, I'm surprised he's not even half asleep or fallen asleep on his desk. But Claude, thanks for coming on again, mate. I know you've been doing your marathons for the last 24 hours on behalf of AFTV and our own channel as well. How are you feeling, mate? Yeah, really. Yeah. Yeah, he's fallen asleep with his eyes open.
Yes.
Claude, talk to me. Claude. No, he's hold on, we'll have to bring him back. Hold on, let's have a look. I think he's Claude, are you there, mate? Oh, he's gone again. There, he's back. Are you there, mate?
Yeah, sorry, mate. It's just a bit problems on my end. I think it's my end.
That's
mate.
all right, mate. That's what I was just saying.
Because I've been on this all day with all the thing with the 24-hour, I think this is what's happening. Okay, sorry.
That's all right, mate. I was just introducing you, mate. I was saying thanks for being on because you hadn't fallen asleep. You've been having a marathon 24 hours, but clearly your laptop not lasted.
All for a great cause. I think we raised, at the moment, it's about £16,000 on the 24-hour live thing. So, you know, it's good cause. Plus more because there's a lot of super chats in there. Should come up to about £20,000. So not bad, mate. Before ad work, really.
Brilliant. Thanks for doing that, Claude. I'm sure everyone can appreciate that. And if you guys haven't already donated either to AFTV's cause or, you know, for the NHS or our own show, which was headed up by Terry and Claude on the Friday or Thursday, I believe. Please, there's a Just Giving page. And obviously AFTV have got their own links as well. Donate for the NHS, guys. Super chat in already before we introduce our resident guest. Super chat in from Shaheen, I believe, yeah?
Yeah.
Evening, everyone. Quick one for Alex. Do you think it's okay for people to not return or answer their friends' calls during these times? Well, that's a subject matter we'll have to we'll have to really delve into that a bit a bit later on, mate. Cheers for that, Shaheen.
That's not aimed at me, is it?
No, it's aimed at me, I believe, Claude.
I've noticed he's very quiet in the last few days. I wonder. I haven't upset him anyway.
Shaheen, stop washing dirty laundry out in public. Well, how many times have I told you? I'll call you in a bit. Al, introduce yourself for those who don't already know you. I'm sure many do, but please, mate.
Let's do this. What's going on, everyone? My name is Alex. I'm the co-founder, CEO of Happy as Larry Group. We're a happiness and wellbeing company. And obviously these guys have brought me in every single Sunday to come and talk to you guys about healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit, being motivational and inspirational. So here I am again, another Sunday. I love these Sundays now, man. I get
another Sunday, another stone heavier. We're doing this with every guys.
Let's see which one of us is going to get the biggest between now and
I'll tell you one area specifically is getting hench, but I won't tell you which bit. Super chat in from Chadwick Muffet. Mate, he's a regular. Thanks for coming on, Chadwick. Man, loved you on AFTV, Claude. You were brilliant. Also, Expressions was so entertaining. I hate Tottenham, but Expressions is hilarious. There's nobody from Spurs that's hilarious, Chadwick Muffet. I don't care how much you're donating, but thanks for kind words for Claude.
Also, our friend from Zane is coming.
Mate, he's your season ticket holder, Zane Myesi.
Zane, where was you on National Health Night? I missed you, Zane. I thought you was going to come on when I done my National Health on Thursday. I didn't want. I wonder where you was. I hope I didn't upset you, but nice to see you back again. Anyway.
Well, Claude, I mean, he's saying there he couldn't get any strippers over because of lockdown. So maybe there's an indication of what Zane's been doing in his lockdown.
Right.
whatever keeps you going, Zane. Whatever keeps you going, mate. But thanks for coming on again. So today, guys, we were discussing obviously from last week. We'll touch on this again. I know it's up for some, it might be a little bit boring, but we always start the shows with daily affirmations. Who's been following them? Who's been trying something new? Guys at home, I'm sure it's getting really stressful now. I found this week particularly very difficult. I'm not going to lie, so we can discuss that. But has anyone been doing their daily affirmations? Has anyone been doing anything that Alex has mentioned over the last few weeks in keeping themselves sort of upbeat and, you know, anything working for anyone? Let us know. And anyone struggling, let us know. Claude, go ahead, mate.
Funny you should say that. No, I've done this bit of meditating as well. I've done a bit of meditating. You know, I put my thoughts of all the good times, and I've done it in a different way. I put my thoughts into all the good times I had. I went into sleep, but I wanted to think of all the good times I had during my life with my mother, who's no longer here, and all the fun times we had. And it was you know what? For about 10 or 15 minutes, I went into that deep thought, and it was good. I found that a bit. I felt more relaxed after that. And I've been going on my walks because I've got as well. I've been not as much as I used to, but I'm starting to get back into that routine, and do the walks and come home. Concentrate more on the try and get things sorted out for the channel and everything like that. So it's been a good week. I mean, in that respect, the only thing is I'm drinking a lot. I've got to stop that. I've got to stop that now. I've got to stop it. But it's all bits and pieces trying to get into place. And no, good week all round.
Well, Claude, today's show is actually going to lead into addictions, so hopefully it hasn't become that bad yet.
Yeah.
But I know, you know, I know that I'm sure many people are using something as a.
I'm not in that mode where I'm waking up in the morning and I want a glass of wine. That's not going to happen. But you know, when you're in the evening, you just want to relax. I just like a nice couple of glasses of wine. But it's turned from a couple of glasses into bottles, and it's not good. It's not good.
Been there a few times.
It's not. I feel that I'm not that bad because if once I started waking up in the morning and doing it, then I feel I've got problems. But at this present moment, then I think I will have problems. But at the moment, I'm okay on that. But I do need to cut it down though.
Yeah. Then we got another super chat in from your season ticket holder Zane again. Let's see what he's saying here. He is saying, Alex, some of my mates are really down. I've told them there is an end game that will come out of it. That will come out of it. Do you think the news also plays a negative role in making people more depressed? That is a very good shout. I know what my answer to that is. Alex, firstly, I mean, there's some people here, before you answer that question, some people have been saying they've been doing some different things along with Claude. One Arsene Wenger is trying to play the guitar. Don't know how his neighbours feel about that. There's a few on here that have been trying different things. But, I mean, yeah, that's a good question by Zane. I mean, a lot of people ask me that as well. News. You know how I feel about the news, Alex, anyway. But I mean, how does that play into people's sort of mindsets?
Mate, huge. The way that the news and the media have been designed is to capture people's attention. So everything is to kind of focus on everything is based around your emotions. So if you watch the news, if you watch the adverts, if you watch everything that's going on, even on social media, there she comes. Everything is focused around, what's going on at the moment. So the news is going to keep you in fear. The news, there she is.
Who's this? What,
this is the famous.
Do you just bring anyone on now, Al? Do you know, like, what is this?
I'm the postman. I just knocked on the door.
Yes,
Well, can you keep social distance, please, Lucy? Because you're too close. But I don't know how Alex's missus will feel about that. Well, thanks for coming on. If for those of you who have been watching or those who haven't, Lucy is part of the Silvers now. She is part of the De Silva clan. Alex has cheated a little bit in life. He's not only got himself. I mean, they say every man has a great woman behind him, but he's not only got himself a great woman, but he's also got someone who's into psychiatry and all that. So he's cheating a little bit. Let's be honest here. But Lucy, finally on the show. Pleasure to see you. No more chat from you, but now you can give us your opinions directly. How you doing?
I know. I'm really happy. I've been looking forward to this all day.
Oh yeah. That and the other one you're doing at 8, yeah?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Says that to all the podcasters, don't she, Al? I bet. So Lucy, I mean, you've been checking in quite a bit. You've been watching our shows over the last few weeks. Obviously, something new. We've decided to try and sort of get people out of the ruts. I mean, I've had a really tough week. How are you? Firstly, what's your impressions of what we're trying to do, and obviously, anything you can add to what you've seen so far, and what you think's been going on.
Yeah, well, I think it's really good what you guys are doing, and I assume that this is mostly aimed at men, is it not? This podcast.
How dare you?
No, everyone.
There's some women there as well.
Why do you think we want you on the show?
Oh well, it's all.
I mean, everyone.
You're gonna get loads of women on now. I want to see.
Well, Alex promised me our female followers will shoot up by tenfold once you're on. So he said he didn't really want you on, but this was the best way of doing it. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying. But seriously though, I mean, no, it's not just aimed at men. Obviously, it's a football-based channel, so obviously the percentage of guys, it is guys, but there's more women growing into football, as you know, both playing and as fans. And there are quite a few on here. I'm sure the likes of Melina and a few others would have something to say about that. So no, we have got women on here, and it'd be really good to get your perspective on things. So the more you the better.
I think it's really good. I think that the stuff we're going through at the moment is, I think it's only something that we're going to experience once in our lifetimes, and we're going to go through different phases of being okay and not being okay. This week, I've gone through a phase of not really being that okay. I've struggled a little bit, and I think that I quite like my own company. I quite like being at home with my family. I quite like having a bit of downtime, which has been nice over the last few weeks, but it's the novelty has started to wear off a little bit now, and I'm kind of like I want to see other people. I want to hug my friends. I want to walk into a coffee shop and buy a coffee, and it's been tough this week, and I felt quite low, and I've told you about that, haven't I? And we've had chats about it, and I think it's really difficult. But I think also one thing to remember as well is that we are also going to be part of history by experiencing this. And I reckon what will happen is that kids at school in years to come will be studying this as a part of history. And so I think that there's upsides of everything, isn't there? And we've experienced it firsthand. You think about the Spanish flu, people experienced that, and that was a massive part of history. Obviously, hopefully not that many people will be impacted by COVID-19, but yeah, it's just I think that's one way of positively seeing it as well, and how we can learn from it. But there comes a point when you just feel like, I've just enough now. I want to go back to some normality.
The beard, yeah. So some people, there's Lucy, pouring her heart out how difficult things have been, and really giving some great insight into things. And there's certain people, they're monitoring Alex's beard game, which is whatever gets you through this lockdown. We could maybe do a beard watch, something like that. We can do for Alex.
How many kids do you have? We
have one together.
Yeah.
3 in total.
And 3 Alex has.
3 in total. And how old are they?
22, 15, and 19 months.
All right. So it's the night. It's the no, but it's the
Claude's face.
the work. I mean, I thought you. I'm just trying to say that is it the older ones that are getting too much for you, or is it the 19 months?
To be fair, they don't live here. It's the 19-month-old. That's the.
Oh right. Sorry. They all live here.
Yeah, my son's at uni. My daughter is.
Right, brilliant. Yeah, I know. I can understand. That's difficult. That is difficult because you want time away from that, don't you? As well. Yeah, very difficult.
Yeah,
I think sometimes I've got the advantage. I mean, I don't like being on my own, but to me, I think in a certain way, it's not doing me that much damage. I don't think I want to be. I see troops on the other day with one is 7, one is 5, running around all day long, and he's used to being out and coming home at night, and he's got that for 4 or 5 weeks, and I can imagine that's taking its toll on him. Can you imagine that is taking its toll?
So trust me, I'm sure it is. It's not easy. Quickly go back onto that. Zane again. Zane, what are you using here? Is he? He's got to have a Coots card or something. This lad. He's on every day. He's whacking money at Claude.
I think the NHS workers should get free counselling when it's all over. I think that's a very good point. That. Yeah. I think the NHS worker will need counselling after all this. People don't. Can you leave that question so I didn't see it all?
Oh, okay, mate. Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
There you go. No worries.
And I hope Boris gives them more money to the NHS. I hope people getting wasted think twice before wasting the NHS time turning up drunk at NHS hospitals.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I think there's 2 points to that, isn't there? The first point is that yes, the NHS should get free counselling, and actually, I've put myself forward to be part of an initiative to give free counselling to NHS staff. So that's something that's going to be rolled out in the next couple of months. But his second point about people getting wasted and going into the hospitals, I think that actually that it's going to be inevitable that that's going to go up. Actually, if not during this time, afterwards, the aftershocks of this stuff going on is going to be huge with people's mental health and addiction, drinking and drug taking. So that
can't be helped, can it? I mean, it's all very well us talking. You don't know what's in someone's head, do you? I mean, everyone is different. Every human being has got different problems, and we shouldn't judge them on that, or we shouldn't be judging them like that, because, as you say, it's very depressing. This whole thing is very depressing for people.
Yeah.
For me, I'm used to being on my own now, so I don't think it affects me that much, actually, because I've been so used to now being on my own in this room, even with all my family not around, and it hasn't affected me. But I think because I've got used to it, because I only go out. I only mingle when I go out to watch football events. I mingle with people in the pub on football days and things like that. Otherwise, my day is getting breakfast, coming home, and having dinner and things like that. So it don't really damage me, but I can see it damages the people that got families. I think that there's more damage to them.
That's a tough one, really, because I mean, there's 2 schools of thought on that, and I'll ask you guys the Silvers in a minute. That's quite good, though. We can call them the Silvers now. Who are that couple that do the stuff on Good Morning? Is it the hypnotherapy couple?
Oh
yeah. We won't say you like those guys, but yeah, you could be. But look, I mean, the good thought. There's 2 schools of thought with what Claude's just said. Some people might find it better that they've got people around them, family, a support structure. You can rely on people. You can sit when you can talk to them. You can confide with them. You can play board games with them. You could watch films together. There's things you can do collectively. So for some people it must be a comfort. For others, it might be, for guys in particular, I'm guessing, we like our own space. Lucy it's nice to have your insight. You like your own space. Some people, they need to be able to get away for a bit, even if they have families. Others, they live on their own. And for some, it's bliss. They're used to having their own space and doing their own thing. And for others, they might be really lonely. So, I mean, the whole point of this sort of show today was to touch on health and addiction. So it's good that we're talking about this, because Claude's mentioned already, he started to drink more than he has. I'm eating a lot more than I usually do. I'm not going to lie. I have been tempted to do things I haven't done for a while. Maybe have a little joint or whatever. People are doing this. So how is what Claude's saying affecting people? And, addictions now and after could be an issue, no?
100%. I think, going back to, I think it was Zane that posted up before, asking a question about the news and social media. Does that have an effect? When saying that some of his friends have been down, and that just ties into everything. And it was great because Lucy came in, and it was good to kind of tie her into that as well, because a lot of what we do is based around that. Lucy spent 3 years at uni, 4 years at uni studying this stuff, so she knows about addiction, and obviously we understand around mental health and everything else. So everything, has its place, and the news and social media, and just look at your own Facebooks and everything that's going on there. There is going to be an element where people are, there's going to be an element where people are going to be positive, and there's going to be other people who are going to be negative. And the job of the news, unfortunately, is not to kind of produce, yay, let's produce happy TV. That's not in their job description, So for them, it's about constantly keeping us in fear, constantly keeping us in check. Whatever the game is, whatever the end game is, because I heard somebody said something about an end game. Effectively, we just have to deal with it. And there are two ways, which Lucy will no doubt jump in and have her say on it as well. But which is the reason why this show is so important, because the people that are watching, the people that will watch it later, you need to understand. And the reason why I kept banging on all the time about putting positive, affirmations, gratitude, doing meditation, doing exercise, going for a walk, things that are positive, whether you like reading, drawing, singing, whatever it might be, DJing, put all of those things that are going to help you mentally stay positive and strong. Because this stuff, we don't know now. They've extended all of us for another 3 weeks. And, apparently it might die down before. Who knows? They may even extend it a little bit more. Hopefully not. I think it's going to come out a lot sooner. But as Lucy said, the effects of this, I'm not worried about now. Everyone's at home now, and there are some people, unfortunately, that we're not going to be able to get across to. We haven't even touched, onto, domestic violence and stuff like that. There is so much stuff going on behind.
Oh, yeah, Jesus, yeah.
And these are the kind of things that, for now, this is where we're both talking about, and we're like, man, when this thing comes out, I saw somebody post a joke of, all these empty houses, all of us, it was a meme, and then all of a sudden it's running down the street. That's how it's going to be. Shopping, food, alcohol, pubs, when they all go up, when they all open, trust me, people are going to go mental, especially in this country as well. If you've been cooped up for weeks, right? What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's like when you do dry January or something like that, you go a month without alcohol, and then what happens at the end of January? Everyone goes out and gets on the piss, don't they? So it's the same sort of thing. It's been forced on you that you can't do. You can't go out and shop loads. I mean, there's online, but for some people that's not quite the same. Part of that addiction and that buzz is the build up of going to a big store and then walking in different shops. Like, even if you're not buying anything, if you're that way inclined, it's like buying drugs. It's the buzz that you get before, which is almost better than the high that you get when you buy something or you take a drug or you drink the alcohol. So, and also, Alex said about the domestic violence stuff, the abusive homes. There's young children who are living in homes that are not very nice homes to live in, and their parents that, even though they're unhappy there, at least they can go to school, and a school can be an escape for them, and their parents may well go to work and they may not see them as much, but they're still not living in a great household, but at least they have escape as a school. But you know, when there's all those that you're just stuck in a house together, then it's going to just get worse and worse. And I think that not only is there going to be an impact on the current generation of adults, there's going to be ripple effects of the teenagers and the young children who are living in families where it's really dysfunctional and violent and all sorts of stuff. So, you know, we're looking at the impact of this is going to be going on for years and years and years and years. And that's why, going back to us and what we're doing, and me for myself at the moment, trying to take these weeks as actually downtime and enjoying some of it, because I know for sure that when I go back to work and I go back to my private practice and I go back into the drug and alcohol centres, they're going to be overrun, because people will just, it's a pandemic after the pandemic, I think.
That's an interesting point, Lucy, because that's something you've raised. A couple of points you guys have raised really that we haven't really thought about, and I guess you have to be in that situation perhaps to think about. And one is domestic violence. Being stuck indoors all day. Imagine being a person in an environment where you can't get away, and maybe the only thing that's keeping you going is going out and working or seeing your friends when you do go to work, and you're stuck with the problem indoors. That must be really frightening. Or a child who's got an abusive father or parents. And also, I mean, another thing I'd like to ask as well with you guys, now that you've mentioned this point, is there a plan, in regards to the after effects? I mean, you're obviously in the industry. Is there a plan in regards to the after effects? You're planning for it with the influx of drinkers and drug addicts and all of that on the rise. Do the government and you guys have anything planned for it, or are you just basically sort of expecting it and having to deal with it when it comes along?
Do the government have a plan for it? I'd say that it's probably not something they've even thought about at the moment, or if they have, then it's been something that's been just brushed under the carpet, like we usually do as the Brits. We usually, stiff up a lip, keep calm and carry on, as they say. So I just think, I think their approach to this whole thing has been the herd immunity, which they're risking by still allowing people to go and work in warehouses and places like there's warehouses open that make handbags. Who the fuck needs a fucking handbag at the moment? Sorry, excuse my language, but
Lucy, right, get off. You've been on it for 5 minutes. You've been on it for 5 minutes.
But it's so passionate, because I think like that when this all started and Boris Johnson said only go to work if you absolutely need to, if you can't work from home and that you are a key worker, and I turned to Alex and I said to him, there are loads of people that are going to be like, well that there's grey area here, because if you're a warehouse worker, you can't work from home, you've got to go to the warehouse. If you all those places that keep the country running, we don't need to have handbags at this, we don't need to have new clothes made, all that stuff. But they're going for this herd immunity, which is that they want a certain percentage of the population to catch the virus. So the risk that they're taking is that they don't know how many people are going to die from that, but they would rather do that than go into full lockdown, which is what China did, and they've had a lot less than the deaths that we've had. But if you think about it, who are the people that are going to be worse off here? It's going to be the working class. It's not the people that have got loads of money. They can sit in their mansions and wait until this whole thing blows over, because they're going to still get their new bloody, Dolce & Gabbana bloody handbag or makeup or whatever, because they're still going to work. It's just, unbelievable.
I don't know if you see this on the screen here.
Yeah, we can. Go ahead, Claude. You brought up something. Well, so it's a report from Michael Gove, basically saying he's going to be relaxing the current coronavirus lockdown measures within the next few weeks. Thoughts on that, Claude? I mean, obviously you wanted to discuss that. What are your thoughts on it, mate?
Well, apparently there's another report saying that over 70s will probably be not allowed out for another year. I mean, that's frightening, isn't it? So 1 year if you're over 70.
So how do we get to? How do we see to these people? That's another thing, isn't it? Logistically, you're going to be able to get out to all these people. We're going to be able to help them if they're not allowed out of the house.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
it's very worrying, and I thought I'd put that up as well because apparently there was an report this morning coming out that that they were going to relax it, but apparently it's now being said it's no way it's going to be relaxed for a while, and it's possibly going to go into late June now, this lockdown. So there you go. I mean,
I was going to ask what Michael Gove was on when he wrote that, but could have been based on what he's told us in the news over the last 6 months. Could be anything. It could have been on when he gave us that information. Guys, so then I guess the question is, I
thought I brought that bring that up because it is relevant.
Yeah. No, it's extremely relevant, mate. It's extremely relevant, and I appreciate you doing that. So I guess the question is, and Claude, in this, I mean, how do we cope? I mean, Claude, as again, I don't want to touch on just Claude. He's saying he's drinking, he's become for a couple of glasses of wine.
No. Normally it's just one bottle, but last night I was doing that 24-hour thing. I ended up doing 2 bottles of wine because I was doing that 24-hour for national health.
But I'm sure there's a lot of people doing that as well, Claude. I mean, you don't have anything to get out for at the moment, do you?
It was all worth it because we raised, I think there was it's raised nearly £17,000, which will go up to 20 after the super chats and everything like that. So it was well worth it to do that last night because I think these sort of things, I was really that made me feel really good to be part of that last night. That made me feel good. It gave me a bit of a lift. I don't know if Alex understands that. It gave me a bit of a lift to be part of that last night. Do you understand that, Alex, from my point of view?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is as well, Claude, I've seen the difference in you, man. Like the stuff that you've been putting out, the content, like since I've been doing this, you see, like I've seen the change in you as well. Like you're actually smiling, you look happy in yourself as well. You're obviously, and listen to the guys that come on the show. Look, Claude started to do this stuff. He's obviously listened, and look, this stuff changes, man. And this is the kind of stuff. If you're looking up to somebody, everything is just about just slight adaptations, And now more than ever, it's just about keeping ourselves safe, just for one day. And if you just do it one day at a time, these things will pay dividends afterwards. You guys are lucky. You don't understand how lucky you are to have access to this every single Sunday for an hour and a half. It's good. Because there are so many people that we talked about, and I know Michael put a post on there. He's obviously his thoughts has kind of gone out with people who have suffered abuse because he put his own experience on there, with his parents, and that's huge to share something like that as well. Somebody that has experienced it. We've both kind of been through our own experiences, and look, the long-term effects of this stuff is already damaging on a normal day-to-day life, and I think it was Melina that said that some kids get access to libraries and so on and so forth, but she put a question on there about, who can they turn to? Because in schools they have, kind of the guardians and people that they can go and speak to, and this is where we then worry. You guys are amazing because we get to see you, we get to talk to you every Sunday, and this is something that we all look forward to as a collective. But the biggest thing for me and what I think about all the time, and where Lucy and I are thinking, okay, how can we reach them? Are those people who are behind closed door, the older generation, the kids who unfortunately may be going through some of this stuff, couples who may be experiencing, whether it's, I think Michael was saying it wasn't even physical, it was mental, but that mental abuse is just as damaging, than the physical. So, it's I know a lot of the things that I've been sharing, and Lucy's here now, and she's obviously sharing some of the things that we do together. The reason we talk about it so passionately is because we know that what's going on right now, this is changing the world forever. This stuff is the ripple effects of this. There's going to be really great ripple effects, and there's going to be some really negative things coming out of here as well. And I think the more and more we can prepare as a nation, as individuals, to continue to do positive things moving forward, the better we're going to be. because, you know, once we open the doors and people go back to restaurants, to pubs, and I quickly read that piece of news that you put up, Claude, and it says on there about restaurants and, you know, hairdressers, basically the things that attract people the most. How on earth are you going to put a 2 meter rule if we're kind of still under, you know, if we're still supposed to be, you know, keeping distance, you know, following the guidelines. So this is what I mean about the news. Be very careful about what's being put up there and what's being shared on TV and on Facebook, because it changes all the time. And that keeps people in fear, keeps people, you know, it's almost like you're dangling a carrot in front of someone. You're giving someone a little bit of hope, but then you kind of take it away and go, actually, but we're going to keep you in for weeks. Do you see the mixed messages? The TV tells you one thing, you know, Daily Mail or whatever news online tells you something else, and then some clever bollocks on Facebook posts something else from somewhere else and says, oh no, actually, you know, this is all. And how many people, even Lucy and I said, I just can't keep up with this stuff, man.
You should say that. There was someone coming on, I think it was a bit of a scam going on they were sending messages on WhatsApp, and there was people picking up and forwarding it. There's a woman on there going on about she heard from this and that the ambulance will be stopping this. It was last week. It was last week on a Thursday.
Yeah,
that, leave people to die.
Yeah.
If you there will no ambulance will be picking anyone up after a certain day. They're just going to let people die in their homes.
Yeah.
I feel myself, why put all that out like that? And I'm thinking, I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
Otherwise, normally,
the thing is that people will listen to that and they all panic. That's what you're just going on about now.
Mm.
They listen to that and then there's a big panic, isn't there? Massive panic, because they believe what they're hearing.
Well, it is. Look, Al, you know how I feel about this subject. We could talk about it all day long, and I'm sure Lucy will probably tell me, wait, get your head straight, stop looking at conspiracy theories and all of that. But, you know, I do believe the media does have a role to play, and they do work very closely with governments, and there are reasons, in my opinion, things are done a certain way, but that's another matter. But I guess what I want to do as with this show and with what we're trying to do is reach out to people, the ones in the chat, or whether any circumstances that you might have, whether it's, you know, you're struggling at home, there's abusive situation, whether you're struggling with addictions, whatever. If you want to talk about it, you know, please feel free. Drop us a message, or, you know, DM us privately if you want at Levanja or Happy as Larry group. You'll get everything you need at the end anyway. But anyone struggling anything specifically, Alex, there's Omar Yaya saying, Alex, do you think this lockdown? There we go. Let's get this up here. Alex, do you think this lockdown will cause an increase in suicide cases? Great question, Omar. I would imagine defo. Thoughts, guys?
Luce?
What else?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, well, both of us, we can share some opinion.
On,
listen, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I think, and this is why, you know, we wanted to talk about, you know, addiction and health, because through our own professional and personal experiences, what we've realized, the reason we created our company is, you know, we specialize in emotional intelligence, which is knowing your emotions and having self-awareness, mental health, and addiction. Now, the reason we cover these three topics is because if you have no self-awareness and you struggle around emotional intelligence, you're going to suffer with mental health. If you don't deal with your mental health and you don't look at it and you don't move forward with things in an effective way, one way or another, you're going to end up either going through the addictive part, or unfortunately, as you know, as Omar said on there, you know, down the suicide route. And look, figures speak for themselves, you know, and these are true figures. You know, I've looked at these when I go to public speak, and I do it in schools and companies and universities, you know, all over. And the suicide rate, the scariest thing, guys, and I want you to listen to this, it's not even amongst men. That's been rising, and that's completely taken over women. But it's the younger generation. self-harming and suicide among kids, between, like young ages up to kind of 18, the numbers have just gone completely mental. And so to answer that question, yeah, which is one of the reasons why we want to do this so much and be able to really help people through this tough time, and not just now, but moving forward. What do you think?
Well, I think this suicide has probably gone up already, whether it's going to be after or not. But yeah, it will be after, because then people will have been mentally impacted by this stuff that's going on as well. And it's not just the COVID-19, it's the effects of, people losing their jobs and being isolated from their friends and their families, and people that may have already had underlying mental health conditions that have decided that, it's too difficult for them. Isolation is the last thing that's recommended when you've got a mental health condition. And there will be millions of people isolated now and going into this, the mindset that there's, it's not ever going to get better, because suicide is a short-term answer to something that's going to last, obviously, for that person's life. And not only does that person then take their own life, they then take the people that are close to them, around them, they take a part of them with them as well, which is really, really sad. And going back to the earlier point that you were saying about what is the government going to do and what are companies like us going to do, that we can only prepare for it in a certain way, because you never know the full impact of what it's going to be. We just know it's going to be bad. But what I think the government should do is look at setting up a charity to help people that happen, that, it could be the COVID-19 charity. I don't know, but they should set up a charity that, will then support people who have been impacted by the COVID-19 crisis, because it's going to be a huge, huge issue. Yeah.
I mean, look, there's loads of reasons as well now that you could start to think of that could have the knock-on effect to take us to those places, either suicide, drug addiction. I mean, there's a whole heap of different scenarios that could take you there. It could be you're head of a family, you lose your business. Loads of people, will they even be able to return back to work after this? There's going to be a massive influx of people that were working, suddenly aren't working. How many of those are going to go back to work? Our business is going to make it through this moment. Then you've got people that maybe have lost loved ones and not being able to get to them and see them, and carrying guilt and all sorts. Then you've got other people who've got their own illnesses or their own mental issues, and they're stuck indoors. There's a whole load of different scenarios that's going to bring out an influx of these cases. How are we going to cope with them? And in the meantime, if you're at home, how do you cope? I mean, look, I've said it a couple of times. Everyone has a vice. Mine, I like a little smoke every now and then, go to Amsterdam, whatever. Just say that, right? How do you go from suddenly, maybe liking a trip to Amsterdam and having a little smoke, to suddenly thinking, oh my God, I'm stuck indoors. What am I going to do? I've got no work in the morning. Nothing really to get up for. It encourages you to stay up late, stay in late, right? Let's be honest. You can binge watch box sets, play on PlayStations, have a smoke, have loads of drink. Claude usually has a couple of nights, 2 bottles easily done. It can be done in the course of a night. What can we do ourselves to try and limit the damage during this time, to try not to be one of those cases further down the line?
Well, I think one important thing to mention about that is the difference between a full-blown addiction and numbing behavior, because addiction is very tangible. You can see, it's quite obvious if somebody's drinking a lot, and there's all sorts of alcoholism, but I guess it's more tangible to see when someone is taking loads of drugs or somebody is drinking loads of alcohol. But what isn't spoken enough about in the world is numbing, and there are a lot more people that are doing numbing behavior which could then lead to a full-blown addiction, or it might you continue that way for the rest of your life, numbing, which is still pretty shit, actually. So if you to think about it, like if you're going to eat something in moderation, for example, a bit of chocolate, you're going to have a strip of chocolate. You know, you've had a bit of chocolate, you like it, it's done what it needed to do, and that's enough. But numbing is eating the whole bar of chocolate, like a big bar of chocolate. I've
numbed a few days in a row then. Easter eggs didn't help, I'm not going to lie, and they're chucking them away at 50p a pop now. If anyone loves a chocolate, Sainsbury's 50p any egg. I'm not condoning going binging on chocolate, but I guess it's better than drugs. But yeah, I'll be doing that. Cure me, Lucy. Help me. I've had 3 Easter eggs in a row.
I think it's I think a lot of people will have done that, especially over because of what's going on as well. But sugar lights up the same part of the brain that cocaine does, so that says a lot for people that consume sugar. And sugar is the most, one of them, up there with heroin, and the most addictive substance in the entire world. So people don't realize that actually the most of the population is probably addicted to sugar, and they don't even realize. But yeah, so we're going back to what we were saying about the stuff with numbing and addiction, and people will be going at and this is where I think again the crisis will be a problem. The mental health crisis is that people are numbing because at the moment it's okay to numb because we're just managing how we feel, which is like I'm not saying like I've been eating chocolate and I've been eating more than I would usually, as in on more occasions. But I still have to be aware of how much I eat as well, because I'm in recovery for food. I'm in recovery for bulimia, anorexia, PTSD. I got full house. So I have to be mindful of that stuff. But numbing can then lead to a full-blown addiction later on. So going back to your question, I think that what we can do is just try and be mindful of how much we are having, because it will then become a new habit, because it takes 28 days to form a new habit. So if you're having if you're numbing every single day for 28 days, there's a fair chance that by the end of that 28 days, you're going to cross over that line and form an addictive pattern of behavior. Because what happens is you learn a new behavior and then it's difficult to break out of it, because your brain, it's a bit technical, but the synapses in your brain, they start to change, the receptors change, so that it's almost like a well-trodden path. So if you imagine a path in a field where someone's walked down there loads and loads of times, if you continue to numb,
it's an imprint.
It will become a behavior. So I would just say, just try, don't go over the top and be like, oh, I can't have that, because then what are you going to do? You're going to go sit in the corner bloody rocking. But you've got to allow yourself to have something to try and manage your stuff. But just be mindful of that, because the last thing you want to become is a statistic.
And sugar is a hidden one. I've seen a few people. Yeah, that one there. I've seen that one. And there's been a few that came up around.
Yeah, Cheddars. How you doing, mate? I haven't forgotten you, mate. He's saying that Lucy's had a good point about the chocolate and the sugar. I think I'm going to have to take Cadbury's to court for rehab.
Can I ask a question to Alex? Right? I never understand. There are people that drink regularly, like a good drink regularly and drink, but are not. What stops them being alcoholics rather than an alcoholic? What's the edge that stops them from being an alcoholic?
What warrants an alcoholic? Yeah, good point. Because I've got
a mates that drink a few. I know people that can drink and go drinking. They enjoy drinking. I remember when I was working years ago. After work, we used to go out till about 11, 12 o'clock after work, go drinking every night, but we weren't classed as alcohol. What stops us from that person going to the alcoholic stage? Why is it? I don't understand. Why is it certain people can go over that edge and some people that can drink regularly don't go to that level?
So
I never understood.
There's certain tiers of alcoholism and how people drink. So you've got people that will have one glass every few weeks. Those sorts of people, I don't know who they are. I don't think I've ever met one. But you got so that's the people like almost on the bottom tier. So someone that can have a little share.
My mum, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. And they'll have like, you know, a can of whatever every couple of months, and they don't even really like it, they don't really enjoy it, and that's fine. And then you got the next type of people who are what you were talking about, Claude, is the people that can go out for work after work and they'll have a few sherbets, and some might have 2 and some might have 10, and you go out, you have a good time, you come home, you feel like shit in the morning, you go to work, and then you maybe that person might not drink for another few days, and then on the weekend they'll have a few on the weekend. And that's actually really the general population. Well, I say that, I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but you kind of have people that almost live in that bit. And then, so I would say in a way, those people are still dependent, because you still are using alcohol to get something out of it. So how do I explain it? There's you still, if you were to ask that person to just stop drinking completely, then it might be difficult for them, because they place some expectation on that.
So would you class someone like that who does regularly drinks, say from Monday to Sunday? Would you class them as an alcoholic then, or does it mean? Is there a difference between that and an alcoholic who actually has to rely on the drink? What takes them to that next level rather than, which is what I could never understand.
Okay.
I could never understand that different.
What Claude's saying is really interesting, because what someone can consume in a day, for example, might be far more, and he's not classed as an alcoholic, than an alcoholic who consumes less but is classed as an alcoholic. So what Claude says is a fine line, because at the end of the day, Al can vouch for me, you work in the city, every other day you'd have a drink. You had a good deal, you've had a great day, you have a drink. Had a shit day, have more drinks. Do you know what I mean? Nearly lost your job, have another one. You got promotion, have another one. Even the companies would sort of encourage us at monthly wrap up, to do shots. That was so are they dependents, and how much of the UK are dependents then, is a question. I mean, like if you go into London, in the city, I would say massive percentage must be dependents. So I guess what Claude is asking is, where do you draw the line? Alcoholic, dependent?
What I'm trying to say is, when an alcoholic, like they say, once you stop, and then you go, once you stop, you're still an alcoholic, even though you stop drinking, yeah. And you go into where you don't drink anymore, say for 3 or 4 years. Why can't that guy go back and do what normal people do, like say me, and just drink three glasses of beer or 4 pints a night and not go over the top? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? What stops them from doing it? Because I hear the alcoholics say once they go back to drink again, they're going out. They're going to do the damage. They're going to make more damage. Because why can't they go back to, say, someone like me who can drink? I can go 3 days, have a drink, and then for 3 days I don't care if I don't have a drink. Why can't they do that? Why is that not possible?
So there's two parts of that. The first part that you're talking about, when do you cross over that line and become an alcoholic? There is a point when somebody becomes a full-blown alcoholic who is reliant on alcohol, because if they were to stop, it's been more dangerous for them if they were to carry on. So someone who is bodily and physically dependent on alcohol cannot stop drinking. They would have to taper off, because their body needs the alcohol. If they were to stop, it could kill them and give them a seizure. So that's like a full-blown alcoholic.
Right. Right. Now that explains it to me. So there is a difference. There is a difference. That means what you're trying to say is that you can be a drinker and enjoy a drink, without being an alcoholic. Yeah, that's what you're trying to say then.
It's an individual case. It does depend on the person, because I believe that if alcohol gives you problems, then there's a problem with the alcohol. That's what I believe. But what you were saying about the person who goes into recovery and stops drinking and drinks, stops drinking for a certain amount of years, that why can't they go back to drink normally? So what happens is, when somebody drinks for a long period of time over many, many years, going back to what I was saying about the well-trodden path, that learned behavior, for me and for Alex, that will be there for the rest of our lives. You can't change that. But also what it does is it desensitizes the brain. So the brain would know that if you were to put a drink in your body, then you would have some kind of physiological reaction to that alcohol. So it would remember it straight away. You can't, unfortunately, once you've become dependent in some way.
It's all up there, isn't it? It's all in the head. Everything's in the head, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is the one line where a lot of people get, it's very easy for people to just carry on about life thinking, everything is okay. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink every day. That was my issue. That was the one thing that almost killed me, because I knew I had a problem with drugs and everything else. But the alcohol was the one that almost killed me, because I kept thinking, no, I only have a drink here and there. Like you just said, Claude, I can go out and maybe have 3-4 pints and I'll be all right. I'll go home, I'll go to work, I'll wear a suit, I've got a great job, blah, 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 blah. Everything is okay. And then as soon as I then go, as Lucy said, it's about the emotions and that turmoil in that head. And then I started to then understand the reasons why I was doing it. And I started to have a look at my patterns of behavior, which is where a lot of people now is kind of almost like a test for people. When you go on about life and you're doing your day-to-day thing, that's one thing. But put yourself in a situation where your back's against the wall, or, there's been a trauma or something has happened, like, for example, what's going on now with COVID-19. You will see people turning to, and it's not just alcohol. Addiction isn't just one thing or a couple of things. It's not just, people seem to think it's drugs and alcohol. I've heard people talk about energy drinks, people talking about, Levels talking about chocolate. Chocolate's a huge one for me. Any form of food. Shopping is a huge one. There are so many people that are shopping addicts. And listen, addiction, and Lucy and I laugh, we almost say like addiction isn't really a thing. You remove the label of what you're turning into, or whatever you're drinking, using, buying, whatever it might be. Think about the pattern of behavior and the way you're doing it. And there are people who are gambling addicts. There are people who are smoking addicts. And you take away a cigarette and you're smoking on those.
I think the gambling is the worst, because I remember when I was very, very young, and I used to do a lot of money. I used to go to the dog track, and I could lose nearly all my wages. In one evening, just like that. So gambling is a horrible. I tell you what, gambling caused my uncle to commit suicide. So I know what gambling can do to. I know what gambling can do. I think that's I think that's probably the worst one, because you think it all starts off with the worst thing you could do if you ever start gambling. The worst thing you could do is start with a win, because that gives you that. Oh, you this invincibility. You go, oh, look, it's easy. This is easy money, and then you get into. I used to get into that win. And I want more, and I chase more, and then I end up losing, and then trying to get it back again, and it's the worst addiction possible. I think one of the worst.
Isn't that like the hit though, guys? Because I mean, for me, gambling is not the main thing, right? Because gambling is not an issue to me. I'm a bad loser, so I can't control gambling.
It is if you lose. Some people lose properties, they lose their house.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that.
It is a big issue.
Yeah, my brother suffers from gambling addiction.
And that's why they ultimately commit suicide. So it's not as simple as saying it's a buzz and all this, because it's.
But it starts off as
more deeper than that.
It's like the hit. You searching for that win. And that moment that you feel like, yes, I've got that rush, and that rush before you win as well. is like your hit. It's like your line from coke, or it's like your smoke from a spliff. It's like your shots from your booze. That is your hit as a gambler. Is you're looking for that buzz, aren't you? And you go through the whole thrill, and then it could be a massive downer after, or it could be a massive upper. Either way, you're going back to try and get more. So it's the same sort of thing, mate. And gambling is a bad one. It's done my family. It's done. I know a few people have suffered from it. So my heart goes out to anyone who's had that. I mean, that's a bad one. But
especially now,
what do you do?
Yeah, well, this is it. Again, going back to the things that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Is connecting with. Go back to the first thing I said: emotional intelligence. Check your emotions. Like, check how you're feeling around stuff. Why are you drinking? Is it because you just want to have a drink and you just want to chill out, or because if that's the case, then we'll just go and drink some water or go and make a cup of tea. Just admit. And again, I'm not kind of saying, well, do this, do that. I'm raising thoughts. Do you know what I mean? I'm getting people to think, people on the chats, and obviously all of us here, to think about. One of my habits I understand today now, and Lucy sees it. Was it today? I kept opening and closing the fridge.
Oh my God, I do that one. You go. You do it every 5 minutes, and you already know what's in there. You've scanned it. You've scanned it.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And 5 minutes later, you're there again, and you're like,
yeah.
Right.
So Lucy then turns to me. She's like, "Baby, what's wrong? What are you looking for?" And I was like, "I don't know. I actually don't know. I just feel really peckish." And I just got peckish. I just want to tell you something. But here's the truth, and I'm going to share the truth. The truth is, I wanted to eat the chocolate, but I didn't want to eat the chocolate because it would make me feel guilty. So
you got your stomach when you're there as well, open the fridge like that.
Oh, dude, I was literally like, come on. And I just kept opening and closing, thinking, come on, there's got to be something in here that I can supplement. But that's what I mean, and I'm sharing my personal experience to show you from, some I'm going to be coming up 4 years. Lucy's going to be 5 years this year, in recovery with this stuff. So it's just understanding that it's not all of a sudden, as Lev said, Lev hit the nail on the head. I was going to mention it. It's about that endorphin hit, and people are going to get it from sugar now because sugar is so readily available. And people think, oh, those energy drinks, they don't do any damage. Mate, those things are even worse than alcohol. You think alcohol is bad. Like, those things, they rot your insides like you.
Yeah, I heard that Red Bull is quite dangerous for your stomach, isn't it? Red Bull.
Oh. Yeah, it's so bad for you.
Al used to have it with pizza and a Slender Tone, didn't you, Al? I used to do that all
It used to go out. And my drink of choice was a double vodka and Red Bull. And sometimes when we used to have a few toots, I used to imagine that double vodka Red Bull. So I'm already high as a kite. And then we're still using, cocaine as well to get even higher. There were times I was petrified because my heart was beating so fast. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and that's kind of like, I can joke about it now, and we joke about it. We're like, oh, what should we do today? Let's go and get smashed, because this is it. Like, we see the funny sides of things now, and I'm at a point in my life where, I get it. Like, I understand these things, but it is tough, man, because when I first went through that journey, the denial, the stuff that I went through you guys last week about the stages of grief, there are certain things on there like denial, thinking, oh, I'm not an alcoholic, I can drink, I have a drink here or there. I'm not that guy sat on a park bench, with a can of Tenners or whatever it is, and it's so easy to judge until you then get taken back and start looking at your own behaviors, and you start to understand, why am I doing this? What's going on for me? And it's not to tell people what they should and shouldn't do, because as Claude said, listen, some people, and I know people that can go out. Lev can, we can all go out and have a few drinks. Lev might get a bit tipsy, or, or you might do, Claude, you might have 4 drinks. And we go
why
out.
Me, Al? Why me? I'm not getting tipsy. It's not me. Yeah.
I'm painting you in a good light, so, and some people can do that. But here's the thing. Every single human being on the planet is an addict. Every single human being is an addict. And I'll explain why. It's because addiction, as Lucy said, centers in the brain. And as Lucy said, it's a trodden path. So take yourself back, or if you've got kids or if you've got cousins and nieces, little babies, when we're first birthed into this world, we're like little vegetables. We can't really do anything. We can't really see either. There's nothing going on. But the human body, the brain, is the thing that soaks up so much information that all of a sudden we're able to do more and more little movements, and we start to then grow and we start to walk. What do you think we're doing? We're creating pathways every single day throughout our lives. There are millions and billions of information that we're taking in every single day. Now, how we use that information, how we action things, that is the difference. Do you see what I mean? And this is why, what we do, and when we go into, and when we're trying to teach people, when we're talking to people, is we often teach people to take a step back and look at yourself before you judge somebody else. You know what I mean? Because I was guilty of that, and I think Lucy was the same as well. Because we are, as long as you've got one of these bad boys inside you, we're all going to have that ability to be able to create a new habit. And that's what it is creating new habits, which is why for us, we teach people to create positive habits all the time, so instead of, like we were talking about before, instead of picking up a chocolate bar, one of the things that we learn and we teach ourselves is sit with yourself. It doesn't, what was it? I don't think it lasts any more than 10 minutes. Any form of craving doesn't last, I think any longer than like 10 minutes, I think. Do you know what the exact number is? It's around about that time. So you can literally sit with yourself and you can feel your emotions, where sometimes, and like, Lev and I were joking about opening and closing the fridge. That's called restless, irritable, and discontent, which means something isn't sitting quite right and you want to change how you're feeling. So what do? You turn to the thing that you know best. So your brain goes straight to that thing. For some people, it's going to be a glass of wine. For some people, it's going to be shopping. For some people, it's going to be chocolate. Like for me, opening and closing the fridge, because we're kind of like, oh, what's going on here? What do I need? Restless, irritable, and discontent. Like something just isn't sitting. And do you want to add anything?
No, I wanted to pick up on what Claude said about the gambling and what his experience with his uncle and what happened there. And I was just thinking, as you were talking about that actually behavioural addictions are far worse than substance addictions, because it's easier. I say easier. You can choose to eventually put down drink or drugs. You don't have to take them to survive. But when something is so ingrained in a behaviour that you're so used to doing it, that's more difficult to stop. And that's why sugar and food are very difficult as well, because we can't not eat. We have to eat. So it's very hard to change your mindset around that. And also another point to make as well about addictions is that depending on the addiction that you have and what type of drug or drink or behavior it is that you have, it will be in some way, if we funnel it down, it will be in some way linked to something that happened to you in your childhood. And that's what a lot of my studies and how I practice is finding that link for that person. And that's when the real magic starts, when you can really see why you are doing it and what it is you're trying to mend within yourself with whatever drink or drug or behavior it is you are partaking in, which could either be numbing or an addictive behavior. So, and also different types of drink and drugs have different effects. So somebody who has a certain character may choose heroin because they may be hyper, or they may be more like highly strung, that they choose heroin because they want to feel relaxed. Yeah. Somebody who wants to take coke, they want to be higher, that they want to feel hyper. And so yeah, there's so much. But when you really start to drill down into this stuff and you start to look at, because we are a product of our upbringing, whether we like it or not, because our subconscious is always going on in the background, whether we like it or not as well. And in our subconscious, we have a lot more going on than when we do in our conscious mind. And our subconscious, actually, it does have more of an impact on the way we see our world and how we behave than a lot of people realise. So I set up, you know, if we don't try and be aware of that stuff and take control of it, you're almost like a robot, really, because you're being run by stuff that happened to you long time ago.
Well, I mean, look, guys, I am conscious that you've got another podcast. Don't want to keep you. Lucy, I want you back on next week if possible. Great insights, and I think what I might want to lead on to, I mean, there's a few joking about it, is social media and things like that, because you can be addicted to that. It can also have a real bad effect on you, on your morale. And you know, we already know the effects it could have on people. People have died from. So I think this show leads nicely on to social media, because it's almost like an addiction. So we could touch on that next week, because I know you're limited to time today. Then we could take it onto social media. So if anyone wants to tune in and talk about social media aspects next week, please come along. You know, I could talk to you guys all day, but I've got to, you know, be fair to you and share you out a little bit. But look, anyone on this show, you know, who's been listening, if you need anything, again, we say this at the end of every show, you can DM me at Levanja on Twitter if you have any questions or anything you want us to sort of ask or cover next week. Happy as Larry Group, we'll put the links to your site on there. Anyone wants to reach out, need some professional help. The Silvers, as they're known as from now on, the Silver Bullets will be able to help you. And Claude, again, mate, thank you for coming on. I know you've had a 24-hour marathon raising money for the NHS, but again, coming on and sharing, you know, private things that are difficult. You inspire other people. So it's good.
It's nice to get it out and nice to talk about it, because if you keep it, I think the best thing is to talk these things out, because if you keep it inside, it's not good to anyone. But thank you very much, Alex, for joining us tonight as well. Thank you very much for coming on. And of course, Lucy, thank you so much for coming on as well.
Got him all flustered, Lucy. Haven't you?
And Lev, thank you for hosting another good show tonight. And
thanks, mate. Thanks for having us. And you know, go on, mate.
That's it. That's all out of my voice. I don't want to shout anymore. But I know what you wanted me to do, but I'm not going to do it.
Doing it for 24 hours, man.
No, come on, Claude. You could do one more. No, he doesn't want to do it. So Claude's not going to say it's time to go today, but it is time to go.
It is time. Time to raise, actually, because we're still taking money for the NHS. For anyone out there, we've still got the link in our. If you look in our Claude and the Bansters, you'll still see the link there. So and also in the 24-hour, which we done with AFTV and United Stand yesterday, that was a good one. As I say, this rose nearly £17,000 at the moment, which is good. You know, it's helpful, especially now. I mean, because people haven't got a lot of money at the moment, and I mean, it just goes to show we can still raise that sort of money, which is great. You know,
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And look, so you guys at home, keep watching, keep supporting, keep donating. And you know what, just keep coming on our shows and giving us the sort of help and the support that we've been looking for, and we'll do the same with you guys. I'm Levanja. This is Mind Matters. We'll be here again 7 p.m. next week with the De Silvers and hopefully Claude. So yeah, thanks for watching, and it's time to go.
It's time to go.
It's time to go. Cheers, guys.